how to YouTube, how to Facebook. Now, like I said in my last video, I was the oldest of 12. And when you're in a marriage, it's pretty easy to grow a lot of kids. And especially because you're a team and you help each other in work, and financially, and then in the house. You really can't do it by yourself because you're always going to need a babysitter if you're going to work. And and if you're gonna see a stay-home mom, you need a provider. But when you're a team, work at night, work in the daytime, and usually the kids go to school at age of 5. And like I said, I was the oldest at 12, so I was like a second mom to the kids of my mom. I usually took care of 10 kids, easily 10 or 9 kids, and when everybody freaks out when you say 9 kids, well, not everybody's really tiny. Maybe like 3 of them are tiny, and the rest of them are pretty much self efficient. And usually by the time they hit 5, they go to the bathroom, they eat by themselves. You just have to serve them. By age of 7 and 10, they can even make their own sandwich, cereal, peanut butter and jelly, hot dog. And even nowadays, there's a microwave. They can microwave a pizza, the sandwich. And the way I did it, the way we did it, is that rule number one, because we're Mexican, we grew a big old pot of beans every day. And every day we had to grow a big pot of beans. And rice and chicken soup. That's what we have almost every day. Not because we were broke, but it was a staple around the house, and we always had food. And beans, you always have food. You can make bean and cheese burritos, tacos, and you make the rice to go around with it. You can make a big old pot of rice, a big old pot of beans, and we used to kill our own chickens and have our vegetable garden in the back and have eggs. So we had chickens, eggs, we have meat from the birds, we had our vegetables, we had our squash, we had we always had squash and maybe onions and cucumber, and we had oranges because we live in a farm, an orange farm. So we always make orange juice or orange water, lemonade, and once in a while they brought avocados. And so we always had food. We never had to go on food stamps or anything. And then we went to Costco every week, and we always buy a big sack of beans. Now, when you buy a big sack of beans are kind of expensive. They're $1.29 a pound, but a pound goes a pound of beans. You can feed 3 people, and we used to buy the big sack of beans, and we buy it like every 3 weeks. And $60 can feed you for a whole week. It'll feed the whole army, and we didn't have just the kids around the house. We had people live with us. Not because we needed it, we were kind. We had our grandma, our grandpa, and 3 uncles live with us. So it was a total of 20 people, and we fed them. And they would give us rent, but it was like $20, which it covered probably the milk. But I will feed 20 people every day, and I would do this out of high school. So I cook in big pots, a big pot of beans, big pot of rice, and then you make a big pot of chicken soup, and then in between you can make spaghetti, you can make meat, potatoes, a big pot of potatoes, And every day we we had fresh food. We had to cook fresh every day because everything will run out or we will feed it to the chickens. And health wise, we were healthy. We had our meat, we had our protein, we had our fiber, and it was we were eating on a dime. And I was healthy. I was skinny. I was 130 pounds, and I didn't have any health issues. I started getting health issues when I started going when I started going to college. Started eating out every day, and I drove, and I was eating fast food every day, and that got me fat. And of course, getting married got me fat because I got inherited my husband's genes, the Chapo genes. And another tip that we did is that I would I would go to the hamburgers, and hamburgers used to be $1 for a famous star or a Whopper, and I would buy 20 hamburgers. I wouldn't buy the 12 hamburgers. I would buy 20 hamburgers, and because some kids will eat like three of them, and I wouldn't buy. I would buy the canned sodas from the store, and so I would always have my pot of beans, my pot of chicken, my pot of rice, and my hamburgers, and in between you add the other stuff. But yes, they do go through the food fast, but we didn't have to depend on the government for food. We were mostly self efficient, and we had a garden every year, a big garden, and we ate out of the garden, and we had our chickens and our eggs, and we always had eggs. And we had enough chickens sometimes to sell them, and we would make money for the hamburgers, for milk. And yes, milk, we would go through 3 gallons a day easily. But they would just drink milk. We wouldn't buy juice or any sodas. Maybe when we buy hamburgers, you buy sodas. But most of the time they drink milk. They drink a lot of milk and cereal. And one of my brothers, he ate a lot of cereal. He grew up to be very tall. And for laundry, I used to have two washing machines, a dryer, and a clothes hanger, and I would wash all weekend, all day. And then in the weekdays, I will wash at least 3 loads. And back in the days, the washing machines were faster and they were more efficient. Nowadays, they're electric and they're computerized, and they're not as fast, and they have a bunch of problems. Back in the days, they at least last you a year. And we used to use the big can of soap. We used to use Costco soap, a big bucket, and and it was pretty good soap. Um, I would wash the socks in 2 loads of washer in the washing machine, and they were really dirty and they come out clean. I would put a lot of bleach in hot water, and the socks were dirty as hell because we live in a farm and you can grow a tree in the socks. That's how dirty they were. You can plant a seed and they grow because they were full of dirt. Because they would play in the field. They would play in the fields of oranges, and they were running with the neighbor. The neighbor had 8 kids, and my mom had 9. Had 12 kids, and they would play with each other in the fields, in the garage. They would be in there with a chicken coop. But the only regret I have helping out my mom is I didn't really talk to the kids about religion. I thought they were doing okay. I wish I could talk to them more about religion and be more strict with them about religion and God. But I was Catholic, but like I said, I I need to feel God better, God closer. Even though I was pretty close with God, but I could practice it more. And I could take him more to mass like every day, but we weren't close to the church. We were far away, so we only went on Sundays. but we went to church every Sunday. But a lot of them didn't keep the religion. They don't go to mass. But other than that, my parents grew 12 kids, and six of them went to university. I went to college, and my dad didn't go to school. He went 6 years. In sixth grade, he dropped out. He worked in the farm, and then he went to mechanic school, and he knew about farming, and that's why he became a farmer, and then a farm labor contractor. He knew how to fix tractors because he went to college. And then my mom, she went to sewing school, nursing school, and she didn't learn how to do culinary arts, and so she knew how to cook and do how to do mayonnaise and cake and jalapenos and all that stuff that she does now. And she knew how to sew, and she worked in a factory, and she became manager because she knew what she was doing because she went to school. You can go to trade school and have a really good job. And when my mom worked at the factory, we were doing pretty well. We had extra money going to buy clothing and stuff. But but God provides. Like, God provides to the birds, and we're better than the birds. And we need to have faith. But we gotta do things right and be good to God, because when you're good to God, God is really good to you. I haven't worked in 3 years, and God's provided for me with these 3 years, and I haven't gone any day without food. I did a while did go to the food pantry because it was between getting my social security and not working, and we had to stretch the dollar, so I did go to the food pantry. But it was free food, and it was pretty good food. And so but I always had my water, my electricity, my cable, my internet, my house paid, the mortgage has been paid, everything. And so God provides. You just gotta be good, and just pray for health, that you can work. Because I could work right now, but like the medicine that I take for the schizophrenia makes it very hard for me to concentrate, and I do errors, so I can't work because of the medicine. But other than that, I can probably even clean homes, in which I learned growing up because I used to be the one cleaning the house. And so, like I said, everybody has a good career. Even the ones that didn't go to the college, they have good jobs that pay very good. And the reason they're not successful in life because they chose to be liberal. And one of my brothers, he chose to cohabitate, and his cohabitation didn't last, and now he has to pay child support. But other than that, he makes pretty good money. And but he's there for his daughters. He's a good father. But he'd be better off if he was married. He'd be cozy with his wife. His wife, instead of trying to support two houses, he support one. Two and one. And that's all I wanted to say. The tips, like in next of growing up. Oh yeah, and the clothing. We just go to Target and Walmart. They have good clothes. You don't have to buy the fancy stuff. Now we buy the fancy stuff because eventually we got our business, and when the business were making 15 grand a month, it were making very good money. So we had cars, and we went to the fancy clothes and the fancy restaurants. But growing up, we probably just did fast food, the dollar hamburgers. But we were fine. We grew up pretty fine. They grew up pretty tall, pretty healthy. They had all the good food in the world, even if it was just mostly beans. But they had everything. They made good burritos out of them, and they had chocolate milk and all this stuff. And toys, toys last forever. You get a bunch of toys and they last you forever. We even threw them away at the end of their their child, that's their child life. And growing up with a big family, you always have somebody to fight, somebody to play with, somebody to compete with. Because kids by themselves, they don't have anything to play with, or and they don't have nobody to compete with. They don't want to compete with their parents. They want to compete with their siblings, and they compete. In healthy kids in a healthy environment with a healthy family, they do better. They don't have mental problems. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much and have a good evening. I think this is one of my last videos. If I add stuff, it's because God wants me to add stuff. But I'm towards the end of the programming. I might repeat some stuff that I didn't post online that I wrote down. I might do it on video. That way, people that don't want to read can watch it on video. Thank you very much, YouTube and Facebook. Share and subscribe.